Welcome to the Veterans Impact Show, where our commitment is to help, hope, and healing of our veteran family and our nation. I'm Jim Blythe, a U.S. Navy veteran and a certified senior advisor. Join us as we continue the mission of leadership and commitment to our communities and our great country. Why, you never know where we're going to go or who you're going to meet. We invite you to join in, plug in, and share in what we do. This is your Veterans Impact Show. Well, great day to you. This is Jim Blythe, U.S. Navy veteran. Joining me, my co-host by Zoom today, Cedric White, tremendous minister, marriage counselor par excellence. They do marriage counseling for veterans and military around the world. Cedric, so glad to always have you on board and be a partner in this. Also, I want to say a special thank you to DBTV Network that puts us out there around the world. Amazon Fire, Roku, Spotify, Apple, Smart T. You name it, and we're out there around the world. And so I want to say thank you to all the people who have contacted me from Miami, New York, California, etc. Also, I want to thank AUN TV for putting us up in Northern California. What a great place, beautiful place. I've got to do a live remote from out there. Love it. Also, I want to say a special thank you to my company, Fairway Independent Mortgage. I do specialty mortgages and I work with seniors, but go to fairwayindependentmortgage.com, fairwaymc.com. You're going to find out about a great company that's in all 50 states. We do everything we can to help veterans, to help active duty military, to help all people who want to buy a home. So thank you to Fairway Independent Mortgage, and thank you to Symbio's Integrative Health, a community care provider. They are great. I mean, go take a look at symbiosccn.com. Those are our sponsors who help us out. And I got to tell you, they're here to support veterans in many ways, shapes, and forms. So today, I have a very, very special program. This is the last part of September, which is Veterans Month when it comes to suicide prevention. And this is something so important because I have had 3 close friends commit suicide that I was a pallbearer in all 3. That's something very close to my heart. So I would like to introduce Elizabeth Kleeman. Elizabeth, welcome aboard. So glad to have you. Tell us a little bit about what you do with the VA.
Yeah, so thank you so much for having us today. I always just appreciate an opportunity to talk about the work that we're doing for exactly the reason that you just mentioned. It's so important because so many people are impacted by a suicide death. So I am a licensed clinical social worker. I've been at VA for almost 17 years now, and I am fortunate enough to support our suicide prevention program here. And we have 12 licensed clinical social workers who are what we call suicide prevention coordinators. And then we have 3 licensed clinical social workers who work as community engagement and partnership coordinators. So VA is incredibly committed, as you can tell just by hearing about our staffing, to suicide prevention in our facility, but across the nation.
Absolutely. And there is a crisis hotline that you can call. Yes, Elizabeth, why don't you give us that?
Yeah, so about 3 years ago now, the National Crisis Line was launched, and that's the very easy 988. So, everyone is generally familiar with the concept of 911. And when the longer crisis line went to that shorter number, the goal was to make it easy to remember and accessible to people. So anyone across the country can dial 988. And if you're a veteran or calling about a veteran, you press 1. And I'll share a little bit more about what it means to be a third-party caller and why that's such an important feature of our crisis line. But we certainly want people to just remember 988 is as accessible in a crisis like you would call 911 if you were having a medical emergency.
Boy, I got to tell you, I wish many years ago I'd have had 988. I'd have called it a whole bunch for the friends of mine who didn't make it. Yeah. Now, I'd also like to mention that we've got another Navy veteran, so we stacked the deck against you. Jedidiah Duran. Welcome aboard, Jedidiah, U.S. Navy veteran, a medic in the Navy. Tell us about what you do. And that banner behind you, it looks great, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so again so much for having us in your show. My name is Jedidiah Duran. I'm the lead for one of the leads for the Empowering the Spirit program. I'm also a registered nurse in the VA. Currently, I'm also working as a triage nurse. Empowering the Spirit program is kind of something we created, and it's evidence-based projects, and we're implementing it. And as Miss Elizabeth and you have said, suicide prevention is our number one priority here in the VA, and we're really excited about this program and the phenomenon and the VA leadership support behind it.
It is important. And I'll tell you something else, what you do in triage, the Navy flight surgeon that we had in my squadron, VA 163, it was my understanding that he had been put through college by the Navy, that he graduated, he went to Balboa Naval Hospital, and that he served in the county triage unit as well as a hospital triage unit, and he was one of the best surgeons in the Navy. I don't know all of that for sure, but the stories I heard about him, but we had one of our pilots take a round through the left foot and right lower leg. And Lieutenant Denny Earl, I saw Denny a couple of years ago. You'd never know. He had been messed up in a flight over North Vietnam. So, Jedidiah, we're so thankful to have you in all that you do to save lives, as well as Elizabeth. Now, let's talk a little bit about, because I needed to know years and years ago. It's all different. I've been through the military peer network training. What do you say when somebody starts talking about taking their life? When they say they're talking about hopelessness? Tell me a little bit about what you guys train and say.
So, one, if someone is disclosing that they're in distress, that they're having thoughts of suicide, that is something to be grateful for, that somebody trusted you or whomever they're disclosing that to say, thank you so much for letting me know that you're struggling, and acknowledge that it's really hard and that it probably took some courage, and that that you're willing to help figure out what to do to get them better. So that's one thing. That's almost best case scenario, that someone tells you that they're struggling. The other thing is that we want people to be able to recognize even when they're not disclosing that information. So being able to know the signs and symptoms of suicide. So, someone saying, I'm just feeling hopeless, or saying, I'm not engaged in my life in the way that I was, or I'm feeling just desperate, or I'm not feeling anything at all. And we ask you to say to that person, are you having thoughts of suicide? Are you having thoughts of killing yourself? Because we want to be clear about what kind of distress we're talking about and what kind of action that you need to take. If you think about it like someone saying, oh gosh, my chest hurts, we would want to say, like, do you think you're having a heart attack, or did you eat a big meal and you think you have acid reflux, right? Because I may call 911, or I may give you a Tums. So the idea is that we want you to be able to kind of help figure out what kind of crisis we're talking about and how to best intervene with that person that you care about. And then it's about calling the crisis line, like you mentioned, going with that person to the nearest ER, going with that person into their VA, and staying with them if you can while they get connected to care. The answer doesn't have to be that you have all the solutions, but the answer can be that you can encourage and get them into care as quickly as possible.
Well, we started this conversation asking when you encounter that, but let's go and talk about down in Houston. What is the VA in Houston doing, and what are some of the programs that they specifically have available?
Yeah, so we are very fortunate in Houston that we have a medical center, our medical facilities in our medical center in downtown Houston, and we have 11 community-based outpatient clinics. And all of our outpatient clinics have access, including the medical facility, have access to same-day mental health services. So Monday through Friday, all of our community-based outpatient clinics are equipped and ready to see people and connect them to mental health care, whether it's your first time, whether it is maybe before you're scheduled to be there. We know that crises don't happen on a schedule, right? So we want to be able to be responsive to people when they need us most. And we have a wide range of outpatient mental health services. So whether it is our substance dependence treatment program, whether it is our PTSD clinical treatment program, whether it's a wide array of mental health services that are available in our primary care clinics, in co-located in our medical clinics, we really want veterans to be seen and taken care of in the spaces where they feel most comfortable and where they feel like it's needed most. And along those lines, also, we've spent a lot of time, I mentioned earlier when you were introducing me, our community engagement and partnership coordinators. Those clinical social workers' role is to be in the community, sort of aligning VA in spaces where veterans live, work, and thrive, and connecting with them there and bringing them into VA or bringing them into care in a way that allows us to prevent a crisis and prevent some of those suicidal risks.
Don't you think, Guy, Jedidiah, and Kimberly, veterans relate to other veterans? We have so much in commonality that you can spot it. The three friends that I talked about that I lost, one of them you'd have never known. He was happy as a clam. The other two guys, it was so obvious. Their countenance changed. Their demeanor changed. Their speech changed. It was like a different human being. There was something wrong. And one of my friends, I said, look, I had him over to dinner and I had a long talk with him. And I said to his wife, lock up the gun cabinet. He got the key. So sometimes we can see it and sometimes we can't. And knowing that you've got those kinds of facilities with that range. Now, you also have detox facilities. You mentioned substance abuse or alcohol abuse. You have detox facilities, correct?
Yeah, so, detox can happen in sort of a variety of ways. Sometimes you have to be brought into the hospital. Sometimes it can be done in outpatient treatment. So we really, our goal is to meet patients where they're at, like kind of depending upon what their needs are. So like Jedidiah's role as a triage nurse, that concept of triaging and figuring out the safest, most appropriate level of care for someone is really used kind of throughout our hospital in various ways.
That is truly amazing. Jedidiah, you've got a story that your PAO said you were going to tell. Tell me that story, please.
How about how I got involved in the program?
Yeah.
Yes. So about 8 years ago, I actually tried to commit suicide, not once, but twice. And God saved me. And I honestly couldn't understand why. Now I do. For 8 years, I was lost and I didn't really understand why. And I think what I didn't realize is that when you fail at committing suicide, the enemy attacks you in ways that you don't understand. Such as one of the things that kept recurring was you couldn't even succeed at failing. Like, what good are you for? And then I did what I was trained to do, is keep one foot forward, and until now, when I realized, so when I was first approached about leading the project, I initially said, I can't lead something I don't fully believe in. Ironically, thanks to my beautiful wife, Evelyn, we rededicated our lives to Jesus a couple months before this. I started going to church before this program was brought to me. And I said no multiple times. And Dr. Kozar, she's now the retired director of nursing, really encouraged me. And in one of our conversations, the story of Jonah popped up in my head. And I thought, let me just obey before he sends the whale. And so I went ahead and did it. And God pretty much said, I'll make a believer out of you. And in this program, we wrote a book. In that book, I was driving. That idea came into mind on my drive to work. And God said, I'm praying on my way to work. And God said to write my testimony. And he said, it's your history, but it's his story. So I talked to our co-lead, Chaplain Thompson, in writing the book. And I also emphasized that I already argued with God about not doing it because he wants me to write everything. And my wife will read it. My mom will read it. My boss will read it. I'm going to get fired, divorced, and exiled. But God said, do it anyway. And in the obedience, I saw what he can do. And I realized in obeying God that you get a front row seat to witness his miraculous power. I saw him use my greatest shame, some things I never bring about. He shed light on it and use it. And that's what the veterans reflected the most, is in my vulnerability in that. And I saw him do something that I was ashamed of, use it for his good. And I saw lives change every single class. And that's reflected in their testimony during our discussions and our talks in the program. And it's not just about their healing, but healing with their relationships and their families as well. And the Bible talks about God's word touching generations. One of the veterans just informed me too, about a couple of weeks ago, that his daughter got baptized with me in our church. And I didn't even know about that. So the program is very close to me, not just because I know where they've been. I know what that darkness feels like. But more importantly, I know what spirituality and what God can do for you if you just look to the light and stop turning away from it, and the grace and the forgiveness and the love you feel from it.
Jedidiah, I'm so glad you said that, because I went through a period of my life where things got real dark. And my testimony is I went to the back of a boat and read Corinthians 13, the first chapter, till I was blue in the face, and turned my life over to God, and it's totally changed. It isn't like some fairy dust. It's like my attitude changed. Now, I wasn't suicidal, but I'd pretty much had enough. And I got to tell you, I think many people get to that point, and they need that help. And that's what's great. And your story is so amazing. Did you publish that book? Did you write it?
Yes, that's actually the material we use for the program. So Chaplain Thompson wrote about the lectures and the discussions, and my portion was the testimony and the reflection questions as I wrote it. And I asked myself, I put that in there as well, personalizing not just the lectures or my story, but making it their own. And that's, I think, what's unique about the program is we meet them where they're at and where they are spiritually, and be intentional in doing so, and also sharing my story, my experiences into it. Under like you said earlier, veterans understand veterans, and I think they understand that I know what it feels like to be there, but more importantly, I know that there's a way out, and his name is Jesus.
Absolutely. And by the way, just so you guys know, I'm an ordained licensed chaplain, and I'm on the leadership team with Cedric in our church, and he is the minister of our church. And Heart Fellowship, there are no perfect people allowed in our little church, but we are doing everything we can to help people to have hope, and healing, and lift a hand up. That's what it's all about. So I just want to tell you, we've got to pull together. We've got to help our brothers and sisters. And we're going to take a break in just a second and come back and speak further about some of the programs. How, if you're not signed up for the VA and a veteran, you can get help. But the other thing I want to mention, and a lot of people don't realize it, and they go, well, it's just so bad, you veterans, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you something. Veterans lead the way. There is an epidemic of suicide. Cedric was telling me about an 8-year-old child that committed suicide. There is an epidemic in this nation, and the veterans and the VA can lead the way. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Healing Thine Heart's Ministry, and Symbios Integrative Health. Now, let's get back to this conversation. This is a great conversation, and I got to tell you, you want to share it. If you've got somebody that is really going through a tough part of their life, share this program with them, because we're all about hope and healing and helping people and lifting them up. And I can tell I've got 2 people from the Houston VA that are amazing. And I got to tell you, every VA in the United States that I've come in contact with is really great. The Dallas VA, super. We can't ask for more. I would like to go and step further, and as I said before, we lead the way. What are some of the most important things of the treatments that you guys see for veterans that will also help them in the community?
Yeah, so I'm really proud of what we call our risk identification strategy, which VA has adopted across our country, which is what you mentioned. And that is the idea that every veteran gets screened for suicide at least once a year. some veterans are getting screened more often, and that depends on the setting they're in and sort of the things clinically that are going on with them. But it's so important to us that we ask every veteran at least once a year, regardless of the setting they're in, about suicide. And it's a quick screener that allows us to decide whether this person needs additional evaluation by a licensed independent provider, and that happens on the same day. And what I think is really magical about the use of this particular screener is it was actually designed to be used in the community. So veterans can use it. It's called the Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale. If they, want a better guide for asking about suicide and their peers, they could use it, right? They could ask someone about how often they're having thoughts about suicide, when is the last time, the extent, et cetera. But VA has adopted that to say, kind of no matter where you show up, we're going to be asking about you, because if you're coming in for a dermatology visit or a visit with your audiologist, and this is the only contact we have with you, we don't want to miss that opportunity to ask you. And I think that really speaks to one of the things that's so unique and sort of helpful about VA is that we have that same practice across the country. So veterans sort of have some continuity and some consistency and predictability in their treatment. So I think asking about suicide and having a clear and predictable way of evaluating that and connecting to somebody to care quickly is really important. And then having those follow-up services that are available depending upon the needs that each veteran has. I think that's certainly very helpful. And I think the other things that we do are the really sort of creative, maybe like sort of non-traditional places that we co-locate our mental health services. So Empowering the Spirit is a good example of that, where we have people who are focusing on suicide, being mindful of how suicide impacts people in various ways. It's really not just a mental health issue, but it is a whole health concept where people can have physical health issues, they can have spiritual health issues, and those things can really be an important vehicle for us to prevent suicide.
Boy, that is really fantastic. Jedidiah, it just occurred to me, Empowering the Spirit, is that a Houston initiative or is that a nationwide VA initiative? This is the first time I've heard of it, and I'm excited about that. What can we do to help you?
So Empowering the Spirit right now, it is in Houston. So it started in the Conroe Seabach with our team. And we did an evidence-based research on it, research articles about spirituality and how it's currently being used. And we came up with the implementation phase of Empowering the Spirit. Our goal is for it to do nationally. And what it is for me personally, it's spirituality and healing is synonymous in my Christian faith. And my relationship with Jesus is what drives me and everything. And with my colleague, Chaplain Thompson, we and the whole team created what's called Empowering the Spirit. So what is Empowering the Spirit? So it's a 12-week program. It's in a hybrid setting, so you can join in person or online. It's designed that way so everyone can attend. And it also accommodates for life's challenges to where you can't be there in person. You can just join the virtual link. It focuses on meeting the veterans where they are spiritually. Emphasizing the spiritual impact on being hopeful, understanding grief and mourning, receiving forgiveness, and renewing your life's meaning and purpose spiritually. We wrote the book about it, as I mentioned earlier, and that's what we primarily use. And we meet once a week, and we give them the book we encourage them to read before and write their answers and read the testimony as well, so that when we come in, we just discuss. We discuss about what we've learned and what we're going, and you see us like changing our answers or adding onto it. And the goal in the program is to meet them where they are spiritually and also provide spiritual insights. And if I could just share one of the graduates, our graduates really reflected the accomplishment of the goals that we've had. One of the graduates in graduation, one of the veterans said that if this program speaks about one soul saved, and he said, that's me. And two of the graduates who actually left Jesus because they lost their children came back to this and are now going to church with their kids. And one of the ones I could never forget is one of the veterans, little girl asked him, if they could start praying so that they can start talking to Jesus and talking to his brothers so that they could see each other in heaven. And, the Bible talks about when you speak the word, it touches generations, and to see that happen. And that's what the program is about. It's not a lecture, it's not a lesson or anything. It's meeting them where they are and finding where spirituality can help combat suicides, and also it's an addition to what they receive with mental health and treatments as well.
Jedidiah, this is really great. How can people get a hold of you, and how can people get a copy of the book, and how could they plug in? Cedric, don't you think that's an amazing sounding program, brother?
I'm sitting here biting my tongue, right?
Okay, come on.
Either Elizabeth or Jedidiah, but I'm like, this is outstanding, because from our perspective, right, we're coming from spirit, soul, and body, and we're talking about both aspects right here, the spiritual aspect and the mental aspect, which needs to be handled. My story by itself, and I know we're coming up on a break, but my story itself is much like yours, Jedidiah. And my thing was, I was embarrassed. I didn't want anybody to know that I was having these thoughts, and I went through it by myself. Whereas when people find out, wait a minute, other people deal with this, other people there's an answer. That was the biggest thing. I was by myself, and thank God my wife, who is now, after 27 years, she was the one trying to get me to go get help. And I was so against getting any kind of mental help, because I was in ministry, so I wasn't supposed to have that problem. But she finally convinced me to go, and here we are 27 years later together. Your story, just both of you, what you're doing is outstanding. So it's important. Keep it up. Keep it
Absolutely,
up. So yes, I want the book and the curriculum. I want it all.
we want to see it. Absolutely. Well, we've kind of run past, so we're going to take a quick break right now. This is Jim Blythe and Cedric White. We're talking with VA Houston about suicide prevention, about mental health, and about taking care of our veteran community, which the VA is doing. And we are very, very, very grateful for all of that. This is Jim Blythe, Cedric White. We're here for you. Cedric does marriage management. I do financial, helping people. We want you, though, to have a great opportunity for a great life, because you're going to need hope, help, and healing. We'll be right back after these words. Welcome back, and thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Healing Thine Heart's Ministry, and Symbios Integrative Health. Now, let's get back to this conversation. You know, guys, we're talking about mental health, and we're talking about probably one of the biggest stigmas, and a lot of people that I know are afraid to talk about it. Let me go back to my service in Vietnam. We had a significant number of World War II veterans that were senior enlisted who had severe problems, and they were functional alcoholics, and they self-medicated. And we didn't know. We just thought they were mean, angry, crazy, all kind of four-letter words about them. If we had known, it would have been a different world. The military is different today in how it treats us. So tell me a little bit about the misconceptions and stigmas that are associated with addictions, mental health, some of these issues, which are basically, guys, they're hiding, they're stress relief, they're coping mechanisms.
I actually think Cedric did a really good job of talking about the very challenge, which is that if I say something, what will other people think? If I say something, then what do? I sort of given life to this problem, but I don't necessarily know exactly how to solve the problem. And that concept of like, I'm supposed to have it all together because I am insert the thing that's perfect, right? And y'all, I just really appreciate this idea of people being vulnerable, men, veterans, humans, just sort of doing the human thing and saying, this is what's going on with me. And I'm open to figuring out the solution, and sort of trusting when you hear people talk about recovery, finding, a faith support system, finding a community that is engaged in your well-being, like, so just trusting that that's true, right? And that it could work for you too. But the biggest gift I think people can give one another is to talk openly and honestly. When we pretend like it's all right and we've got it all together, that's so rare, right? But we also aren't giving anybody any permission to be flawed, or it's not, I don't even know if flawed is the right word, but needing support from each other, sort of being the yearning for the connectivity that I think all of us as humans do. And sometimes we just need more help than others and at different times. And all of that can be overwhelming, but that vulnerability piece is key, though I know it's really difficult. And I think that's what y'all are all highlighting here, is that it came across for some people, like you were saying, it comes across as being mean or being angry or being, I don't know, kind of unwilling to be helped. But when you are finally willing to give in, like Cedric said with his wife, that's where the healing, that's kind of where the magic happens.
One of the things,
Jed, I'm curious to know what you would say about that
Cedric?
piece.
I was just going to say, Elizabeth, what you're saying is so. I work with police officers. I work with veterans. I work with a lot of men. We have an organization called Men in Battle, and quite often it is literally the stigma, the fear that somebody's going to know that I actually need help. I'm having a difficult time dealing with my thoughts. I'm having a difficult time. My background, again, I was in ministry at the time, so I'm definitely not supposed to be having suicidal thoughts. But life does just that. Quite often those issues come about, and all of us are human. And I want to share this with anybody that's out there. It was literally less than 30 minutes into my first session. It was a group session that my entire perspective, life changed. 30 minutes. Changed, and I was going to do worse, and I won't go into it for time's sake. I was going to do worse than commit suicide. The thoughts that I was having, it was a dark place. And so, but it was through my belief, going back to those who have a spiritual background. I went back. It was a church counseling program that I went to, and it was just a reassurance and letting me know that, hey, I still have value, and just because I was feeling like a failure. I was feeling like a failure as a husband, as a father, right? As a minister, all of these things were in my head. And it's like, no, here I am. The one caveat, here I am 25 years later. And now that's what my wife and I do. What? Counsel those who are going through those situations. So God used that very thing that the enemy was trying to use to take me out, now to bless others, to keep families together, to strengthen police officers, veterans, men, women, all over the place. So there is help if we can get them to, first of all, say, you know what, it's okay. It's okay for you to need help. If you don't know how to fix a transmission, what do? You take it to
a mechanic
specialist.
That's right.
Right. So you go and you get help. That's all this is a support system, peers that have gone through it that can help you. And
that's what I think is so powerful about your sharing your story, which is that me talking about it from a clinical perspective is not the same as hearing somebody who had the experience that you had.
And let me tell you, I've dealt with a lot of veterans through the Veterans Court. I was their financial advisor that was helping them. And what you see is it permeates across the board. All of a sudden, they're drinking, they're drugging, they're manipulating, they're doing all kinds of destructive things. But without a doubt, almost every aspect of their life falls apart. And boy, I mean, credit problems, then income problems, job problems, it all manifests. So the sooner you can get in and work with a peer, so the sooner you can say, hey, I need some help. And I've had to do it too. I've been through Celebrate Recovery at our church. Diane helped me to get into that. And you've got to learn. Another great place, Dr. Bruce Hebel is a close friend of Diane and I's. They stayed in our home and we did a program for the church, Forgiving Forward, forgiveness. And that is the gospel. That is the heart of the gospel. And I think that all of these things come together. But one of the other things that I have been amazed about the VA, and I had Dr. Benjamin Kligler on the program, I guess a year or so ago, and he was at that time involved with or head of integrative health. They're looking at other things that can be integrated in, such as the spirituality, such as some of the Eastern things like acupuncture and Tai Chi and yoga and all of these things to help heal the mind and the body. Because if you are really in pain, if you are in tremendous pain, you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well, you're not taking care of yourself. And that's one of the things I was amazed in talking with Dr. Kligler. It's a program that is growing within the VA. You guys can talk about that one right there.
Whole health, I think, is probably the concept that you're referring to. And I completely agree with you that it's not ever one thing that is the magical solution, right? It's almost always looking at the veteran and their family of choice, their support system, where they work, where they worship, all of those things, and figuring out what in this system can we jostle a bit, where can we affect change, and what matters most to the veteran. That's one of our first questions when someone comes into care is, what matters most to you? Because if I'm only going to talk about medication, or I'm only going to talk about employment, but what matters most to you is your ability to run with your grandkids, or your need to relocate to be closer to a different support system. By helping us identify what matters most to someone, we can figure out, okay, where in our continuum of care can we intervene? And I think that's actually, to your point, Jim, that's one of the things about Empowering the Spirit that has been a nice addition, is that the spiritual aspect of care can be incorporated if that's what matters most to a veteran.
Jedidiah, let's go back again. How can we get the books, and how can we plug in with Empower the Spirit down in Houston that got started to be able to spread this around the nation? Who do you email? Can I email you? What can we do to get more information on this?
Yes. So I just want to highlight the VA leadership support we've received from this, from Conroe to Houston, and to Miss Diamond, Miss Elizabeth, who have been incredibly helpful in creating this. So that's one of the things really that they made it so much easier for us to disseminate it, and for them to get in touch with us. All they would have to do is let their primary care know that they're interested. So it's the 3 criteria. So if you're currently on a high risk flag, or you've been removed from it, or you're expressing mental health crisis, and that's more for preventive measures. You let your therapist know, your provider know. If you're coming here for a dental appointment and you mention it to them, or dermatology appointment and you mention it to them, and Miss Elizabeth spoke about the Columbia suicide scale, and if they say yes to it, even if they say no to the rest of it, they can send an email to us at VHA spiritual care team at va.gov. And then from then point on, one of us, me, chaplain, or any of our team will contact them and explain the program to them. And if they're interested, then we enroll them to the next available chaplain, and then they will reach out to them. And then we'll mail them the books, or they can pick it up in person if it's up to them, all in week 1.
I think that's really, really great. These are programs to save lives. Again, guys, I am adamant about this. Not only are we saving lives of veterans, but we can save lives in the epidemic of suicide that is nationwide, maybe even worldwide.
Yes.
People are having a hard time. And I've never seen so much divisiveness as we're seeing today. And I think it's time that we work together and put our differences aside and learn to communicate, learn to understand the importance of love thy neighbor, even if he's different, even if she's different, even if they've got this problem or that problem. Listen, you know what my grandfather used to tell me? We've got Cherokee ancestry in our family. Never judge a man till you walk in his moccasins. That's a huge thing. Walk in somebody's shoes and understand where they're coming from. And that's what we need to do more of to try and help people, in my opinion.
Jim, what you're saying is right on point, in so much that there's so much discourse going on, and just in reference to the suicide prevention, the destruction that one person taking their own life, how it spreads through the family, and the statistics that says if you have a parent that commits suicide, then possibly that child is more apt to do it, or people in that family are more apt to follow that. So if we can stop that tradition, if we can stop that bad mindset somewhere along the line and give people healing and help, then guess what? We prevented legacy, what they call generational curses. We prevented that, and we've allowed that person to start to see hope and longevity and legacy in their family, right? I think about it now. I have 11 grandchildren now, right? At that time, I had none. I only had 2 children. Now we have 3 kids, 11 grandkids. I hate to even think about what could have happened had I gone forward with what I was thinking. Thank goodness somebody cared enough. And let me just say this real quick. She kept at me. She wasn't my wife. She kept at me for 18 months to get help. That's how long it took her to convince me that I needed help. And it was when I finally reached bottom that I finally accepted that. And I was so glad. And like I said, it was just a matter of minutes. I spent a year and a half in a horrible place that took 30 minutes to turn my life around. So I am in such support of what you guys are doing today.
Oh, absolutely. We come down to Houston, and we like to take you all to lunch. It's so important. Again, how do people get in touch with you? Well, you're PCP if you're in the VA. If you're not in the VA and you're not a veteran, can somebody get a copy of your Empowering the Spirit book?
So it's something that we're working on, giving the brochure at least an information that we hand out, and we're just leaving them on the lobby so anybody can get access to it. The book they can have when they get into the program, because some of it are challenging in itself, and that's where the lecture part comes in. But they are more than, and it's part of the brochure that we're creating actually is part of like a snippet of what the program is about, so they get a taste of it and see if it's something that they'd be interested in, because it does delve pretty deeply and has a lot of accountability of where you are and your faith is, but also a lot of grace in it. So a part of the book and the program will be explained in the brochure, but they'll get the book when they get enrolled in the program. Yes, sir.
I want to say this, and we could talk about it, once we finish this program today. I want to talk to you more because our organization, Healing 9 Hearts, along with the Veteran Impact Show, we work with and do trainings for veterans, for people who are looking to assist, especially from a spiritual aspect. So it would be something that I'd love to see if we could partner on, right, to maybe bring it to the veteran community. I don't know. We'll have to talk about the specifics, but it may be outside of the VA, but still bringing it to the veteran community, because what you're saying is vital. What both of you are saying is vital. And the more people who can, it's like the gospel, the more people we can get it to, the better off it is, right?
This conversation's got to keep going. We're going to have you guys come back in the future. Now, we're going to be sending this to your PAOs, so please share it, and we're going to send it up to Doug Collins. So I think he ought to hear it too. He is an ordained chaplain, an Air Force colonel. So this is a great conversation. We're going to continue and finish up in just a minute, and then Cedric's going to lead us in prayer. This is all about saving lives, and that's what we're about, is helping people with a hand up and with a positive note and with solutions to do what? Help you to have hope and to heal. However you structure it, it's all about taking care of those of us who serve and will continue to serve. This is Veterans Impact Show. We're serving you now. Welcome back, and thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Healing Thine Hearts Ministry, and Symbios Integrative Health. Now, let's get back to this conversation. Cedric, what a great show we've had. What great guests. Man, I got to tell you, I want to say a special thank you to Jennifer Roy and Jessica Jacobson and to the wonderful lady from Houston, Maureen Diamond. Did I get that right? Oh, thank you for setting this up. Sometimes I never know what I'm going to get, but man, we hit a home run. And this is important. So please, if you're listening to this program anywhere in the world, share it. Share it with many people as you can. And it's important. Also, we are going to have a booth for VA. And if you wanted to send up some brochures to us, we'll see. You've got our email. What we can do is put them out with the VA here when we do Walking Through the Fire. We're going to be doing that on Veteran 11th. So that's important because we know all of us have walked through the fire. Now, there's something special about people down in Houston because every time you guys get on a freeway, you walk through the fire. Right? It's a tough deal.
Quite a challenge.
Yeah, it's a tough deal, man. I got to tell you, this is so important what we've done today in trying to help people. So there's our deal. We'd love to have you come if you're Dallas, Fort Worth. If you're not, give us a call. We'll make a copy of it. We'll send it to you. Dave Carey, I actually attend his Bible study every Friday morning by virtue. It's a tremendous opportunity to grow. We're growing a lot today. And when you cobble all this together, go back and look at our videos, our programs. Look at Dr. Benjamin Kligler. Look at some of the other programs we've had from the VA over the years. Dr. Stephen Holt, so many people who have come and have talked to us. We had Secretary Wilkie on 3 times several years ago. It's important that veterans know there are other veterans supporting them, and that's a safe place to go. You were making a point of that, Jedidiah and Elizabeth, so we thank you for that. Appreciate it. So we're about to wrap it up. What are your final closing thoughts, guys? Jedidiah?
I think. Oh, good.
No.
Yes. For me, my final thoughts is if you're listening, take it from somebody that's been there, who understands the darkness. And I know what it feels like to look in the mirror and hate the person looking back, to see that much hatred and you're not who you thought you'd be or something that's so palpable. In those moments where you think that the only way out is the way out, I'm here to tell you that's not true. Take it from somebody that's been out of that situation. And if you think that nobody cares, trust me, there's at least 4 people in this show that do. And we're telling you that there's a lot of people that do. And that only way out, it's not a way out. It's silence and things, but you're robbing everybody of the opportunity to get to know you and the difference you can make. I'm an example of that. God saved me 8 years ago, and I didn't understand for 8 years. For 8 years, I was tormented by the lie that I'm not good for anything. Mm-hmm. But in this story, it's my history, but it's his story. And that's what this program can do with Empowering the Spirit is, because trust me, the most common thing they see is, what do I have in common with these people? We're not here to offer per se a solution, but we're here to get to know you and where you are spiritually. And it's, as a Christian, it's not my role to save souls. That's God's role. I'm here to plant seeds. And here we're just planting a seed of healing and to let you know that you're not alone. Everybody in that room are going through what you're going through. So please reach out, because we'd rather hear you out than mourn you. So please.
Absolutely.
Please
Elizabeth, let you wrap up for us.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
My thoughts. Just briefly, I'll say that I think between Cedric and Jedidiah and your personal experience with loss, Jim, those are, you've heard today some really good examples of why to reach out. And that if this isn't the thing, if Empowering the Spirit doesn't feel right for you, but the hope of some treatment and some recovery is speaking to you, then, and like Cedric said, it was quick for him, right? It felt helpful, and that there was hope right away. That's that's a great and powerful message. And if you're not connected to VA, I wanted to share our health eligibility center that you can call no matter where you are in the country to get registered is 1-877-222-8387. That's 1-877-222-8387. You can walk into the VA medical center in your area, into a community-based outpatient clinic. And just know that always there's 988 if you press 1 if you're calling about a veteran or if you are a veteran. And if you're not, 988 is available for you as well. And it doesn't have to be one single thing that works. We've got a large menu of options, and we're just excited to take care of people.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about, taking care of people. That's what Cedric does. That's what I do. And that's what we all do. And that's what everybody needs to know, whether it's PTSD, physical pain, or moral injury, we're here to help you. So I would like to say this has been one of the best programs I've ever done, and I'm going to send it out. Share it across the nation. This is a great message. Save lives, help people, put a hand out to lift a hand up. And I got to tell you, what more can you do than to follow the precepts of love your neighbor? I love that. Regardless of who they are, what religion, what creed, what race, anything. Help one another. And when we start doing that, we're going to bring this nation back together to where it is one nation that we can be really, really proud of. Cedric, brother, would you take us out with a prayer?
I'd be glad to. Father God, we thank you for this time. We thank you for the likes of Elizabeth, the likes of Jedidiah, the service that the VA brings to us. We thank you for the message. Let it go out and reach that individual who has thoughts of harming himself, and let him realize that there is help if he can just go ahead and accept it. So let him, her, let them come out of the darkness into the light, knowing that there are those who care. We thank you for your love that you've shown us. Lord, as Jim said, let this country come back to being one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is our prayer. In your mighty Son's name we pray. Amen.
What a great day, guys.
Great show.
And thank you so much for being part of Veterans Impact Show. I'm going to get down to Houston. I'm going to be talking to some doctors down there to share what we can do for them. So thank you. In Veterans Impact Show, you share it. We're here for you. Thank you, and have a great day.